I left advertising from a corporate job directly and made Nilbate Sannata.
इस देश में तो बच्चों को अपना करियर डिसाइड करने का कोई फ्रीडम ही नहीं है.
Another scene in Bareilly Ki Barfi is basically Ayushmann Khurrana and Rajkumar Rao are talking to each other, and in the screenplay it was written like, you know, it's inside a house or something, one of the houses. But when I went for the recce, I saw like, you know, iron bahar karte wahan par. Filmmakers need to understand psychology, because how do you understand characters if you don't understand the psychology?
Right.
Direction is just not about sitting behind a camera and saying, okay, action and cut. There's a lot more happening there.
Yeah. How much would I potentially be paid as a production house?
I think we would be giving anywhere between...
Ashwini.
Yes.
Thank you, friend, for showing up. And I'm very, very excited to have this conversation.
I should say thank you first. And I just feel like very important today. Usually you don't feel very important. Today I'm feeling very important.
Phenomenal. The question is actually, could you in one line tell me what does a director do?
I think a director is a 360-degree person.
Right.
Who knows everything from point A to point B. Who's someone who understands his or her job very well. So, and is also a bouncing board.
Right.
So there will be everyone who will, it's a center point. The director is a center point, and from that center point, it's like a lot of
film
sparks.
Emerges.
Like, you know, it's like a sun rays.
Right.
Sunrise, like, yeah, sun rays which happens.
I love how you took a creative interpretation of the question. Beautiful. So if we now know that this is what it means to be a director, what would you tell me as someone who's just got this flair, has no industry, level 0, no industry experience whatsoever? What would you think I should do? What should my first step be?
So I think one of the most important thing to be a filmmaker is to have ideas and also passion for cinema.
Right.
That you're so passionate about the idea of storytelling that you can go to any length to be a part of that system.
Right.
The second most important thing is that to be aware, to be more open, because cinema is also education, which is basically self-education.
Right.
So you can go to, not all filmmakers are from film schools.
Yeah.
But if you can get into a film school, is always an added advantage, is because you at least understand the technicalities of filmmaking.
So you would actually recommend...
I would recommend to go to a film school.
Okay.
Any film school is okay.
Yeah.
To have some kind of training in terms of the technical aspects of filmmaking.
Understood.
See, as a writer, you can still enhance your skills by reading and understanding. As a filmmaker, as a director, you can understand the idea of stories by reading, by watching a lot more films, by analyzing films. But I think it is important to have some kind of technical knowledge.
Right.
Although I'm not from a film school, but my film school has been my advertising work.
Right. Got it.
Where almost every month I used to go to one film set.
And you would also recommend someone going to a film school because you understand...
So that what happens is that when you go to a film set, when you understand things, when you see how camera functions, when you understand the technicalities of camera, you don't necessarily need to understand how camera functions.
Yeah.
Because then I need to take up cinematography for that. But at least I need to know knowledge, right? It's as simple as, I'm giving you a very simple example, is that you need to understand something about your bank account to know how to do online banking.
Right. Sure. Absolutely.
Something you need to know. Because when you go to a film school, you just don't learn filmmaking. Direction is just not about sitting behind a camera and, you know, and saying, okay, action and cut.
Right.
There's a lot more happening there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of egos which needs to be managed.
Right.
There are a lot of understanding of things. If we are on a schedule and if something goes wrong and a decision needs to be taken, suppose the rain comes.
Yeah.
And we do not know when the rain is going to stop. everyone looks at the director.
Yeah.
And the director is the one who has to take that decision whether we're going to stall the shoot today or we're going to wait for the rain to stop and then start.
Right.
And you're wrong, you're right. The director is always the one who's looked at.
Beautiful. So if we now know that this is what it means to be a director, what would they do next? Create their own short films? Is that what would happen immediately as the next step?
So,
short film or
no, if you closely ask me, you can create your short films, all that is okay.
yeah.
But you still need someone to trust you to make your feature film.
Right.
So short films can always happen. And
Right.
short films are like, I would say that today with your iPhone, you can really make your short films.
Yeah.
Because when someone comes to me with their short film, I'm not looking at a newcomer and saying that, oh, how beautifully they have shot and what
Yeah.
are the things. Because I know you're making it in a certain budget and that's much only you can do. But what
Right.
I'm looking at is how you're taken off the performances.
But someone who needs to be trusted to actually create
Yeah.
a feature film, they will need to see some work, right?
Yeah, to see that, that's what I'm saying. So it is important to like do your short film.
Right.
एंड टू नो कि आप कितने पानी में हो कि आप मैनेज कर सकते हो कि नहीं कर सकते हो
कितने पानी में हो in the context of budgeting?
नो इन द सेंस दैट हैंडल कर पाते हो कि नहीं
Right.
कैन यू हैंडल सी टिल द टाइम यू आर इन कॉलेज यू हैव बीन absorbing things
Yeah.
and you're with a group of people and you're doing things the moment
Right.
someone puts in money into you
Yeah.
is when you're responsible
Yeah. Absolutely.
and वो time पे आप क्या कर सकते हैं that's very important how
Right.
do you handle things at that point of time
And how do you judge that?
I judge that purely through the enthusiasm of a person.
Right.
Because what happens is, not in my set, but mostly what happens is that when you start off and you're in the third assistant director, you are actually not dealing with the director directly. You're doing a lot of other things,
Right.
which not necessarily a lot of filmmaking students like,
Sure. So then what would
So
I do?
then my recommendation has always been, which I told him also, you should not start off as a third assistant director.
Right.
You should start off as becoming a director's DA.
So the director's assistant and an assistant director are two different roles.
Yeah. So assistant director is basically first assistant director, second assistant director, and every assistant director is given a certain job profile.
Right.
So I would have like 3 second assistant directors, but one assistant director will only handle costumes. Everything about costumes. One assistant director will handle everything about art.
I see.
And
Got
one
it.
assistant director will only handle management of actors timing, logistics, casting.
Right. So these are assistant directors.
Yes.
But the
And then there is someone called a continuity supervisor also,
right.
whose job is to only understand the continuity. So I had one assistant director who wanted to be a continuity supervisor.
Right.
And he was from Whistling Woods, and I actually got him to become a continuity supervisor in Bareilly Ki Barfi.
Right.
And from there he started. He made some mistakes, but that itself is a job,
Yeah.
which is basically everything about filmmaking, which eventually you can get into direction. You can become a director there. So I have
Got
another continuity supervisor of mine who has worked enough as continuity supervisor that now she can make her own film.
Got it. I want to actually take one step back, and if I was to go to film school, are there any recommendations of film schools? Any film schools that you would imagine are decent ones, good ones, or
So there are amazing film schools there, but I would say that the ones which are like there is the Satyajit Ray Film School, which is there in Calcutta.
Yeah.
But the Whistling Woods is there here,
Right.
Where a lot of students from Whistling Woods
So Satyajit
are
Ray-
getting into the film school. Then I think there is a film school even in Delhi right now. There's a film school in I think somewhere in UP,
right?
if I'm not mistaken. There is Chennai. There is a film school.
Do we
So,
know any?
Kerala, there's
Do you
a
know
film
any of
school.
these names?
I would not know, but
Okay,
I
got
think
it.
most of the states have film schools
Got it.
right now.
Got it. So we go
And hardcore film schools
to understood.
where it's sometimes it is basically journalism, media, and films.
Yeah.
But hardcore film schools, of course, there's FTII.
Right.
So
Got
which
it.
is one of the biggest film schools in the country.
Fantastic. Okay, so
There's
now
NID, which is there. So basically, the film school is there in NID also.
understood. Think of me as a 20, 21-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm just right out of film school. Where will my first paycheck come from?
So there are three options available there. Either you directly join a production house
Join a production house. Okay, got it.
and you work under that particular director.
Understood.
So basically, you get your salary from there.
Got it.
The second option is that you join, like I said, the freelance direction group,
Right.
and that's a freelance basis. But usually, what happens is that there are assistant directors who are usually busy, is because there is work happening all the time.
Right.
And as far as I know, that assistant director group is a very unanimously nice group, is because everyone helps everyone.
Right. Right.
Because if you're working in a city like Mumbai, where mostly all future directors come to
Right.
as a place to earn and live, it's an expensive city.
Yeah.
And there are assistant directors who all stay together, so there are PGs available. So there's so much.
I have a knack for storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about this. And if I came to you with that ask and I'm 21 or 20 or maybe even slightly younger or older, how much would I potentially be paid as a production house paying me?
So if you're coming from a school,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
like a legit school of
Yeah.
filmmaking, then I think we would give. I'm talking about my production
Yeah, yeah,
house. Okay,
yeah,
I think
sure.
we would be giving anywhere between 40.
Okay.
45.
Right.
Plus, we would give an incentive when the shoot happens.
Understood. So let's
I mean,
say
that's
that.
my company. I'm pretty generous.
Right.
Most of the assistant directors who pass out from college
Yeah.
get into freelancing.
Right.
Reason being is that for obvious reason they make more money
Yeah, got it.
because
So,
they make per day
which is great, right? So now if we go into.
and they learn more.
Yeah. So if I go into option number 2, where I'm a freelancer,
get
and
more.
I'm doing storytelling, like on a per project basis, 2 questions. How many projects do you think I could tentatively do in a month? And how much would I be getting paid per project? So invariably, how much would I make in a month if I was a freelancer? A decent one.
So as far as I've seen, the max you can pick up is I think three projects a month, because
Right.
then there would be like at least a 1 week pre.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you're not doing the post, then you need to do the pre. The pre
Sure.
usually is about 10-15 days.
Right.
If it's a big film, big ad, this I'm talking purely ad film.
Yeah, sure.
If it's a big ad film, then at least there would be like 20 days.
Right.
But otherwise, it's like a week.
Right.
10 days max.
Understood.
So a week, 10 days max and 2 days shoot.
Sure.
So that's why if I calculate, then it would be about 3 ad films.
3 projects. So if I'm working on 3 projects, tentatively for a project, I would be paid exactly like how I would be being paid in a production house? Like
More or
maybe-
less, yeah.
So you're saying maybe 25 to 40,000 per project?
Yeah.
So if I'm earning
Sometimes even
75,000, so if I'm earning 75,000 to maybe 1.5 lakhs per month.
Yes. It depends
as a
on how much you
freelancer.
can push yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And now in the post-production, the third category that you were mentioning,
That's project wise.
that's project-wise. Say
And
per
sometimes
project,
there are post-production supervisors, they're called post-production supervisors,
yeah,
who do 3 projects at one point of time, because the projects are happening in different timelines.
understood. So, and typically for a project, for a post-production, like a director who's
I have
tentatively,
no idea. That's something I have no idea about. I think
Very
you need to talk to
interesting.
my producer on that.
I will find out more
But
about
must
this.
be, I think must be the same or more
As
than
a
that.
freelancer?
More than that.
So maybe like say 40 to 60,000 rupees potentially,
Maybe even a lakh.
maybe even a lakh per project.
Yeah.
And they're potentially doing 3 projects.
Yeah.
Which means that they could do like 3 lakh rupees potentially.
Yeah.
That
Because
is an
post-production
interesting-
work is pretty
Intensive.
intense.
What do you think are some of the resources that I should be referring to? What I mean simply is that as a student, what are the 5 books that I should read? And what are the 5 films that I should watch if I was to get a masterclass in filmmaking?
I feel that there are no particular books or films that I could recommend and say that, you need to watch this film and you need to read
Right.
this book. But the most important thing is to consume as much as knowledge you can.
Right.
And it is very important to be a good observer and to be a good reader and a learner. In this day and age of where you have the making of films online, there are various sites called Studio Binder, and the where making of films happen, and they actually break down how a film happens. And someday I would love to, this is something which I would love to do in India also. That
Right.
literally, take all the master films and literally break down those films and understand why certain color palette was given, or why a location was chosen like this.
So this happens on
Yeah.
Studio Binder, is
Yeah,
it?
there's something called Studio Binder,
Very cool.
which I really like, and there's something called How to Screenplay. So
These are websites?
yeah, these are websites, and these are also pages on channels on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is something which I really like.
Are there any other channels like this?
Uh,
I love the idea of Studio Binder. I'm going to go check it
Studio
out.
Binder is something which I really follow. I really, really like.
And
like
How
it.
to Screenplay, you said.
How to screenplay something it is called.
Right.
That's there on Instagram, and I think that is also there on
YouTube.
On YouTube.
Right.
There's another exercise which I do. Is that because a lot of books are made into movies, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So what I do is I read the book.
Yeah.
I go and watch the film. Sometimes the book is better than the film. Sometimes the film is far better than the book.
Right.
And then I go and read the screenplay.
Yeah.
And I kind of analyze that how the book was written as a screenplay. What are the changes which were made? And from the screenplay, how did it go into a film?
Oh, wow. Okay. So the book to the screenplay to the final film.
Hanji.
This as a process.
Yeah.
Because, so I don't, like, for example, Harry Potter, right? Just I'm giving you an example that is closer to me, for example. I read all the books first.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that any of the films could go into the depth of the book.
Yeah.
Simply because there are so many details in a book that you just, in a 2-hour, 3-hour film, to really scrunch it down, the screenplay must adapt that. How do you do justice? Like, do you know any? I don't know very many
So
films,
this
which
has
I'm
always
asking.
been an ongoing debate.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're reading a book,
Right.
all of us read a book, we read in our own individual capacity.
Yeah.
And when you're reading a book, you read it and you visualize the lines.
Right.
Your visualization of what you see can be different than mine.
Absolutely. I love
And
that.
then what happens is that we all have read that book, and then you're going and watching it as a film.
Right.
And when you watch it as a film, you see it and you say, oh, okay. But then film is a visual medium.
Right.
Whereas book is more of a inward medium. It's more of a sensory medium.
Right.
Because you feel.
Yeah.
In a movie, you see and you feel.
Right.
In
Absolutely.
a book, you read and you feel.
Yeah.
And in a movie, you are seeing what is shown to you.
Right. Here you are imagining.
So that's why they take you to a magical world.
Yeah.
But one thing which I do feel, and I keep saying this, that, filmmakers need to understand psychology. Psychology should be a compulsory subject in filmmaking schools.
Right.
Because how do you understand characters if you don't understand the psychology?
Right. Yeah.
For me, like in Bareilly Ki Barfi, I remember I was in Lucknow and I was going into one of the sarafas and I was there, and I kind of saw these two guys. One was wearing a very flashy shirt and one was wearing a striped shirt, and their hair had that mohawk cut. And during that time, this is 2017, 16, that acid wash jeans had become like really famous, like it was in trend. And I saw these two guys and I said that, oh my God, this is Rajkumar Rao. This is Vidrohi. And he was playing a video game outside. And I took exactly that into the film.
Right.
And I sent my stylist the shirt that guy had worn, the glasses, which was his reflective glasses, the mohawk cut, and I said, this is
The
how
character.
Preetham Vidrohi is going to be. This is what it
Beautiful.
is. So it is very important to travel. You cannot write stories or you cannot direct if you do not feel
Yeah.
the place, you do not understand the fragrance of, especially if you're telling stories about our country.
Yeah.
India, every 500 meters there is a new story there.
Right.
There are colors are different, the wall colors are different, the psychography is different,
Yeah.
the fabric is so different, and it's so beautiful to take that and again another scene in Bareilly Ki Barfi is basically Ayushmann Khurrana and Rajkumar Rao are talking to each other, and in the screenplay it was written it's inside a house or something, one of the houses. But when I went for the recce, I saw iron bahar karte hain wahan par. Iron wala ghar pe nahi aata na wahan par. Small towns में iron वाला बाहर रहता है, आप रोज कपड़े देते हो, वो iron करके आपको दे देता है. So I had one scene which was basically the iron wala is there, iron कर रहा है और वो shirt लेके बात करता है, मिलते हैं शाम को.
Right.
Now those are things which are very open doors.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen in cities. You would not know who your neighbor is. But in small towns, you know who your neighbor is.
Yeah.
It's a place where people rejoice and celebrate things together.
I love that. So this also now, I would like for us to complete the loop earlier, which we started on our the journey of the director. I don't think people have enough clarity about what these roles pay.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned first AD, director's assistants, the journey that you have to take to become a director. Could you potentially say how much they would be being compensated in today's day and age on a film set? And that's what I think a lot of people want to learn from. If we can just take the stepwise and growth, like the third AD being paid versus the second AD and stuff like that, maybe we can break that down.
So I would not know about other production houses because everyone have their own philosophy of how they want to pay their assistant directors. But I would talk about my company and like this, I just spoke to Varun Shetty, who's my producer, just to make sure that I'm telling the right things. Filmmaking as a director, a third AD would be anywhere between 25 to 30,000.
Understood.
Second AD, depending on the experience and depending on how many years and what are you getting to the table, and also the size of the project,
right?
In terms of the ad film, if it's a big ad film or if it's a very decent small film,
right?
So there it would be anywhere between 30 to 50. Sometimes 55, can go anywhere between 70, 80, 90.
Understood. This is the second
AD.
Got it.
First AD, again, depending on the size of the film. Like sometimes there are these really big films where you shoot for 5 days. Sometimes there are 1 day films. Sometimes there are small films. But depending on that, it starts off on 80, sometimes 75, 80, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3 per day.
Right.
Depending on the size and the seniority of the project.
80 to 2.5.
3 also.
Would be the range. If you're going into, we discussed the peripherals, all the other roles, because you're a student and you're young and you're growing up. When this person gets to the point of being the director on the set, how much does a director typically earn?
So that's kind of very funny, Sometimes a director will get lesser than the first AD.
Interesting.
Reason being is because the first AD will be... So usually what we do is when we're getting a first-time director, especially for an ad film, we surround them by senior people.
Got it.
We surround them by a senior assistant, first AD, even assistant directors.
Right.
Who don't want to become directors yet.
Right.
So it's actually a very nice process.
Right.
But this person is ready to become a director.
Understood.
And maybe this person was a director's assistant.
Got it.
And this person must be getting more when he or she was a director's assistant
than when they're the director.
But the joy of directing a film. But still there you're a first-time director.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it can start anywhere from 1.5 to 2 per day. And can go to 3, can go to 4, can go to 5 per day.
Right.
Again, it depends on the project and the size of the project.
Understood.
Sometimes it's 2-day shoot, sometimes 1-day shoot. And the same thing, across the industry in ad films, it is per day. Even cinematographers charge you per day.
Got it.
Everyone who's there charge you per day.
So it's like maybe 1 to 5.
1 to 5
per day.
And can go to 10. And go to 20 for very senior directors. Very senior directors. But that budgets are not there anymore. So,
How do you get there? How does somebody get to 10?
After some 25 years.
25 years. 25 years of being a director, you can now say that I charge 10 lakh rupees per day. This is my price. This is how good I am at this. The reason we were going down this route one of the things that got exciting from this directorial conversation, you had a journey as an ad filmmaker, and you learned so much around that from a 15-year corporate world, like an ad agency world. You were really there.
No, I'll just this changes a bit here. I left advertising from a corporate job directly and made Nilbate Sannata. So I
Right.
had no advertising direction. I didn't do any advertising direction.
Oh,
So
I see. Okay.
I wrote ad films. I
Yeah.
handled a lot of brands.
Right.
So from a very corporate advertising world,
Right.
I directly got into feature films.
Oh, very interesting.
So
Okay.
I didn't even go into I didn't go to the mid path of making ad films.
Oh, epic.
Although I've been in the process of ad films
Yeah.
as a creator,
Yeah.
but I didn't go and direct ad films. I started directing ad films now, actually.
Right. Oh, okay. So actually, then let me take a step back. So when you were directing a film like that, one, I'd love to understand what was the difference in this world of advertising and in the world of feature films. And if young people are to understand what that change looks like, how would you describe that getting into the world of feature films?
I think advertising taught us a lot about how to write stories.
Right.
With beginning, middle, and end. Although you used to do 30 seconds, but still it gave you the confidence to start writing stories because everything is a story, right?
Right.
And when the idea of Nilbate Sannata came in, I was still having my job in Leopold, and it was very clear that I'm not going to leave until make something out of it.
Right.
But the true love of filmmaking, I had collected enough money and I had my provident fund and gratuity. And I said that, okay, fine. For the love of cinema, I'm going to leave my agency. So this is something I think it's very important that for the love of art is something which you love and people go to any extent to make sure that they're doing that. But at the same time, it's very important to just make sure that you're keeping some kind of back end ready with you in terms of the rainy days, is because it's very important to make sure that you have some kind of savings there.
Right.
And or you tell your parents or your loved ones that this is something which you're doing so they can fall back upon, because it's a very lonely journey.
Right.
I didn't know anyone in the film industry. I didn't know anyone in Bollywood, and I only knew that I had a story, and I knew this executive producer whose name was Ajay Rai, and Ajay Rai had made some really nice films. So one day I called up Ajay Rai and I told him that I have this story and this film which I've written along with my writers who are from my team, who were first time writing a screenplay. So we all were like doing it for the first time.
From your team at Leo Burnett.
Our team at Leo
Oh,
Burnett. So
wow.
we used to do work in the morning, and evenings we used to start writing the screenplay. Saturday, Sunday we used to write the screenplay.
Right.
And when I even approached Ajay Rai, I was still working in Luminet, and KV Sridhar, who was my immediate boss that time, told me that, you know what, go see what happens, but if it doesn't work out, the
Yeah.
space is always open for you. That too, I gave him that script thinking that someone else will direct it. But when he read it, and I think I owe a lot to him, because I think as a creative person, you need one person to trust you. Someone needs to trust you and say that validation is a very important factor for creative people. Doesn't matter what is your experience, doesn't matter if you're even 30 years of experience, validation at some point is always important, even for you. So Ajay Rai is the one who read the script and told me that the script is written so well, why don't you only direct it? You know the story so well. And I was like, I know direction from the ferry of it,
Yeah.
but I've never directed. He said, kar lete hai, aap karo. So he was the one who actually produced the film.
Wow.
And I also put in my gratuity money into the film,
Right.
because I was so wanted to make this film. Even
Yeah.
Nitesh put in money into the film. And then he assured it to Anand Rai, and the journey was different after that. Eros came into the picture. But he was the one who actually said that go make a film. So I think I owe him a lot, is because today, if he had not said that, I would not be sitting in front of you today. I would have not made my other films.
Yeah.
So I always feel that, and that I kind of followed now, is that when I see a spark in someone, I do feel that it's important to give them that break.
Right.
Because you just need that one break.
Yeah.
You just need that one break for someone to believe you and tell you that, you know what, you're good and we are there to back you.
Yeah. And when you got that opportunity, when he said, yes, let's go,
Yeah.
you should direct.
Yeah.
You're now entering uncertain territory.
I entered an uncertain territory. I didn't know that these are the kind of things which needs to be done. So he introduced me to Mukesh Chabra and said that, okay, Mukesh Chabra is going to do the casting of this film.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So slowly and steadily,
It all started
it
coming
started
together.
all coming up and it opened up.
Right.
And he said that, this guy is really good and he will do the editing for you.
Right.
So I slowly started getting into the whole picture. And then I went to Agra. And I because I wanted to shoot in Agra, I wanted to show as a creative person, I knew what I wanted to do, but I've never been as a director on set. But I had the experience of being behind the camera.
Yeah.
How to deal with local people, local line producers, local things. There's so much more happening there. And also, I was a woman. I am a woman director. I hate telling these things, but that time it was like that.
Yeah.
So how to deal with line producers to look at you and tell you that, hey, you know what, you need to listen to me because I'm the one who's going to be directing the film.
Yeah.
And slowly and slowly, that's where it started moving from. My confidence happened when I do feel that when you do not do it with too much of that this has to be the result of this thing.
Yeah.
When you do it with a lot of love, without expecting
Yeah.
expectations are road to disasters. So you do it with all your love and leave the rest. Nilpat Sanada was really liked by everyone.
Yeah.
And it so happened that I was coming back from Nilpat Sanada shoot, and at Delhi airport, I was very bored, and I'm an avid reader. I read a lot, and I really, really encourage everyone to read. I think at least spend like half an hour reading every day. Anything, whatever, it's nice. And I picked up this book it was a breezy read called Ingredients of Love. And I said, okay, fine, yeah, it looks nice. Let me read. I read it in the flight. I came back home and I told Nitesh that I want to make this book into a film. He said, you just finished one film, you're already thinking of the other. I said, nah, it's that, that's the energy.
Right.
And that's how Bareilly Ki Barfi happened.
Beautiful. Thinking from the angle of success as a film, in our industry, success is typically numbers. Is it a blockbuster? How much revenue it made? And what were the collections, right?
Critically talk about a film,
Yeah.
which is equivalent to the money put in and what it made.
So when you think
Because
about,
not
let's say,
all films can go into 100 crores.
yeah,
And not all films can be blockbusters.
Yeah.
But films can be critically acclaimed. Films can be like, if you put X amount and it makes XX, the only thing difference is that it is not 100 crores, but it has still made the profit which is required.
Right.
So that mechanism, that business of cinema, I think is very important right now in the new scenario of
Right.
films. But thanks to the OTT platforms, a lot of young storytellers, actors got their due, which was needed.
Yeah.
Is because on the OTT platforms there was cinema for everyone, and there were all kinds of cinema. There was a whole range of cinema
Yeah.
in all budgets,
Right.
and that gave an opportunity to a lot of young directors who were assistant directors who became directors.
Right.
That is something which I think we all have been discussing. Is that what is good cinema,
Right.
and because we need to keep the storytelling alive.
Yeah.
Of young storytellers.
Absolutely.
And how do you define that success?
Amazing. So I want to now look at this, Ashwini, as young students in college today, or like somebody who's 18, 20 years old. There are things that you've learned from your journey of being a certain way, being an artist, being a storyteller. What would be the one piece of financial advice that you would give to a young person? And what would be one general learning, that you've had over the last decade that you think students or young people should generally be aware about?
I think the one thing we all have to be aware about, and something which is very important, would be to do what you love. And if you do not enjoy something and you see that you're not going to enjoy it for the next 20 years, then it is important to tell that decision to your loved ones and to make sure that you change your course
Yeah.
of what you really intend to do way before it's too late.
Right.
So it is very important to make sure that you love what you do, because when you love what you do, it's like it's a different magic altogether.
Yeah.
You would not be able to do what you're doing right now if you're not loving the
Yeah.
essence of it.
Absolutely.
It is also important that whatever you do, one is for love, but the other one is also to stand on your own ground. Because we come from a generation where our parents have worked enough for us to, give us the education which we needed. But it's up to us to take it way forward.
Yeah.
And when you love what you do, you anyways automatically earn money. And you also need to be very sure about what you're worth
Right.
for. And you also need to be practical about your achievements.
It's fascinating. I love everything that we have been able to cover, because I know that it's a really large industry and there is a lot to do within it. I think that we've sort of been able to scratch that surface.
And I think one of the most important things which I have learned is that actually there are two important things which I have learned through course. One is that never lose confidence in yourself. There'll be one person. It's a journey of patience.
Yeah.
But there'll be one person who will believe in you and give you that dream of yours. You know?
Right.
And when you get that, it is important to respect that and not take it lightly.
Yeah.
Then you give your 110% to it.
Yeah.
Because you've got that opportunity.
Right.
That opportunity will be given to you once.
Yeah.
Maybe if for some people it comes early, for some people it comes slightly late, but that opportunity comes.
Right.
So the important part is to never lose confidence in yourself.
Right.
And always say positive things to
Beautiful.
yourself.
So, Ashwini, thank you so much for being here. This has been an incredible journey.
Thank you.
You spent the last couple of hours taking us through your process and the how of what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
This was awesome. So thank you.